What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of
Ball Status.
That's right. We are back. It's been a little while. The podcast where we talk about the health of business and the business of health. And it's been a while. I feel a little rusty here.
Have we filmed this year? That's a great question.
Yes, we have. So we have.
Yeah, Dave, we did your episode.
We did the licensing episode with Dave, and I'll introduce everyone here in a second. We did a licensing episode with Dave. We did also film another episode with Chris Gethin talking about the Unmatched brand, but that's going through legal review at the moment. So that one will probably be posted after this one. So this is probably episode number 38. We're going to get better about this year. It's going to happen. We're going to get more consistent with this podcast. But anyways, I digress. We have Mr. David Renicki with us here, Mr. Director of Formulation over here at Crush It Brands. We have Mr. Patrick May, VP of Sales, Crush It Brands.
Hi.
And we have this guy, Mr. Triad. Is it Triad? Does it go to Triad, or it's not Triad Nutrition or Triad Fitness? Or because I know Triad is the three.
Yeah. Fitness supplements and nutrition is kind of, if like our full logo includes a fitness supplements and nutrition, but we're really trying to lean more towards just Triad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, anyways, this is Kevin.
They call me Mr. Triad.
Mr. Triad, Kevin, owner of Triad, owner of Defined, right?
Yes.
Now, is that Defined Nutrition or just?
Kind of, it started as Define Nutrition, but also kind of the same deal of trying to just brand more Define.
I like it. That's very lifestyle-y.
Yeah. Trying to make moves in that direction. So,
all right. So today, this is going to be an interesting podcast, at least for me, because he's a fellow business owner who not only obviously owns stores in the Oklahoma City area, very successful retail stores done right. So like us, we have the nutrition corners. He has Triad, and then he also has a brand. And so we can dive into the kind of the origin story, how you got started, and then obviously we'll get to like where are you going, what do you see going on in the industry, your likes, your dislikes, all of that good stuff. So before we get started, is there anything else you guys want to add to preface this? Oh, we're smoking a cigar today too.
So we're outside. Smoking a cigar. That's been a while.
It has been a while.
This has been the winter. Now it's, spring's broke and like we're trying to be out here, but there's a chance of hail.
So
we're under an awning. POV's frustrated at us.
Yeah, but it's gonna be fine.
An awning?
Dave.
Hail.
Hail apparently. Dave is gonna get nailed.
That's what I'm saying.
Nailed by hail. So I'm smoking
I don't know if my
a
insurance
Trinidad. The guy said this was a good one. Dave smoked one before.
I don't think
pulls
you're on,
well,
Dave.
strong. Yeah, we turned him off on purpose.
I don't know if he's plugged in.
Bro, plug him in.
He's out.
That's great. Hold on. What a loser.
Loser. I remember my first time.
Give it to him, Dave. Let's go, Aaron. All right. I'm also drinking A&W Zero Sugar Root Beer because having that little sweetness, like a American Energy Victory with a cigar, is just phenomenal.
Have you done that, Kevin? Back in the day when American Energy was just throbbing.
How's that?
You sound good. Victory and a cigar.
I think we did that when you were on our podcast. Yeah, I think
Did we do American Energy?
I can't remember now, but
I think I didn't drink. And
that's why I think we
I don't think you drank either.
No, yeah, we just smoked cigars on my back patio actually for the episode. So you, me, and Thomas, and and we sometimes we'll pour some bourbon, but we were prepping for sample Triad.
This one here would be good.
So
the black cherry. What is this? Black cherry.
Oh,
black cherry vanilla.
That's a good move.
That was a good move. The citrus with a cigar doesn't usually work for me.
I went Arctic White though, so maybe to kind of balance. We're smoking Southern Draw, 12 Dozen Roses, Casa Monte Cristo exclusive.
Good.
It's a good. I was telling Kevin, I like this Southern Draw, the Rose series. So it's a Connecticut slider. It's a nice daytime cigar, like nice, golf course cigar, beach cigar. Podcast in the middle of the day cigar.
Yeah.
But those dark Maduros, like that's like late at night, put you on your butt.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm going for it.
You're going for it.
Dave's over here just beef hammering it. Just like, you know, like just call you beef
it's
hammer.
Good. It's good though. It's the 20th anniversary. So.
All right, so let's dive in. So Kevin, tell us a little bit about your origin story in the health and fitness industry. I know you came from Supplement Superstore / First Form area, so let's probably start there, right? Because you relocated to Oklahoma City really just to get away from them, not in a bad way, but just to not compete with them.
Right.
So why don't we start there?
Yeah. I grew up in the St. Louis area, moved to Springfield, Missouri for college, was going to Missouri State, and Supplement Superstore's first location is in Springfield. And by that time, they had a handful of locations in St. Louis, and it was just St. Louis and Springfield at the time. And I started working there as just part-time as I was going to school. Learned that I really enjoyed the industry a lot. I had been working out since high school and really enjoyed the supplement aspect of things. So it was like, it's a good fit. It'd be a fun job. But as I was applying, I started learning about how difficult of a job it was, but also how many opportunities there were in the industry, even just at Supplement Superstores, but obviously also at First Form as well. So after about 6 months of working there, I decided to drop out my junior year of college, which my parents weren't super happy about at the time. They were like, you're working a supplement store to drop out of college? I was like, I think it'll work out. But was working with a couple other guys and that were very motivated, and I just felt like I was with the right people, and we ended up really trying to move forward with opening up our own location and kind of dove into a little bit of potential for franchising, but Supplement Superstores was really starting to just dabble with that a little bit. What
year is this?
This is 2015. And ultimately, we were young 20-year-olds, so we were pretty gung-ho about getting going. It was me and my two original partners, Chad and Vincent, that we were ready to get going. So we decided, hey, let's just go do our own thing. Supplement Superstores definitely dominates the areas that they are in. So we really didn't want to compete with them, and that ended up being actually a really good thing because we still have a really good relationship with all the guys at First Form and carry their brand in our stores, and they do really well. And and it ended up parting ways and moving to Oklahoma City, which is about 4 hours away from.
So did you have a location picked out already, or you just say, I'm going to move here and then find a location?
We essentially we were at a point where it was like we can kind of go anywhere, we just can't stay here kind of situation. So we legitimately pulled out like a grade school map of the United States, and we're like, what about this city? What about that city? And again, we were young 20-year-olds, so we were like, what about Miami? What about LA? Like, started looking at all these crazy cities, and we were like, let's get a good range of different cities. So we even looked at, I don't even know if you guys have ever heard of Joplin, Missouri, but tiny little city, all the way to like Denver, and we threw Oklahoma City on the ballot as well. And we were working with a bank at the time to get approved for a loan, and we kind of came to them with a few different options, and they were really keen on Oklahoma City being a really, really good opportunity. And their big thing was, hey, it's a growing city quite a bit. Also, you guys clearly did the research on all your competition. Like, I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, but all the other cities that you're looking at have a lot of established stores in them. The only thing in Oklahoma City at the time was GNCs and a couple mom and pops. And they're like, we think that you would have a lot easier time getting going there in the first place.
So you must have had good relationships with a bank then to start, because honestly, a lot of banks won't even go into that much depth to look at your options and work with you to tell you where to put it.
Yeah.
Like, so what was that process like?
So it was actually a customer at Supplement Superstores that we had gotten to know personally. That was a chief loan officer at a bank in Springfield. That's awesome. He was the one that actually brought it up to one of the original partners, Vincent, of, man, this is a really cool model. I feel like this would do really well somewhere else. And Vincent we were actually in the process of looking at like investors and whatnot to get going. Ended up asking him like, well, if we were going to be opening up a store somewhere else, like how would we go about getting like funding for that? Because I know you work at a bank. And he's like, well, I could actually help you with that personally. So
how much was your initial loan? First loan?
Way more than we should have taken out.
$200,000.
350.
Go, my Lord.
That was we did launch Define Nutrition at the same time too. We were going to do about 200 to 250, and then we decided to launch our own brand at the same time,
So your brand launched that early?
Yeah. And it existed only in our stores for probably 6 years.
So when you opened Triad, you had Define.
Pretty much. So we opened up in November of 2015, and we had already been working with a manufacturer, put a down payment down and everything. We got our products. We got all of our first round of products in January of 2016. So
and when did your first store open in Oklahoma City?
November of 2015. So just a few months prior to Define Nutrition releasing. So like formulas and products were already in the works as we were opening.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you're not with those partners now.
Yeah.
So when did they exit?
They left at the very end of 2017. So around for a little over 2 years. And
it's just you three working the store. So owner operators, you guys are covering all hours of the store.
We had no W-2 pay until 2018.
So how were you making any money? Like, how did you live?
Minimally.
Yeah,
That's
just
for
like
sure.
owner draws, small owner draws, that type of thing?
When we could,
Yeah.
or other part-time jobs.
Yeah, I remember when I first met you, you were personal. There was a lot of personal training going on. Like
I was working at a gym down the road, some front desk, and was picking up as many clients as I could, but I was stacking them all first thing in the morning so that I could still get to the store and open it in time.
yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me about your stores. What was the idea behind Triad? Why was it Triad? Was it because there was 3 dudes?
Yeah, it was. It was. That was kind of the secret meaning behind it. Was 3 different people like are always involved, and the more public meaning
How'd
was
that turn out?
It was nice to have 2 other guys that were willing to
Yeah.
work a bunch for no pay at the beginning.
Yeah,
'Cause,
for sure.
It was a grind just to kind of start paying our bills, but we hit a plateau at about a year and a half where we really realized we were going to have to make some big changes, and it was tough to make a lot of quick decisions with 2 other equal partners. So at the time, I think we all kind of agreed that the business really just needed one person to really start making a lot of changes and adaptations to become more than just paying our bills.
And were you that person?
I was, but I wholeheartedly believe that putting those other 2 guys in, we would have seen positive changes with just one person, because they had ideas, I had ideas. They ended up ultimately finding other things that they wanted to do outside of the business.
So they were still
exited.
owners, but then basically you became the owner and CEO running it, or did they exit when they said, okay, one person needs to run this?
They exited at that time, and they exited because they found other things that they wanted to pursue.
Yeah.
But
are you still close with them, or do you still know them? Or
I am. Yeah.
do they shop in your stores?
Yeah, they Vincent. So it's Chad and Vincent were the original owners. Vincent still calls in and places orders with us all the time, and Chad was at my wedding reception. I'll see both of them. Thomas was another guy that came from Supplement Superstores with us, and is my best friend, and works full time with us now. He's got a bachelor party at the end of this month, and I'll see both of them. So all 4 of us will be together for the first time in a while. So
That's cool.
yeah, still.
So there was no drama ending. It was more just, this is the right decision for everyone.
Yeah, to be.
Hey, all we are is real on this conversation.
And
because like everyone goes through drama in business. It's just what happens.
Especially in partnerships.
Yeah.
Especially in partnerships.
And that's where they can get ugly, you know.
I would say there was more drama when trying to operate the business, all 3 of us. But once we kind of realized that, and full disclosure, a lot of it came from me. The other 2 partners, they tended to be always on the same page and agreed and had same ideas and this and that. I felt like we were making some decisions and going directions that didn't make sense, and I had my own ideas that they, I think, had a tough time understanding. So it was tough for me to be constantly outvoted, and I know I didn't handle that well. I've matured a lot from that situation, But once we kind of got to the point where they said, "Hey, I think we're out," things got a lot calmer and was and very mutual. I think we all realized, hey, we've only got one shot to end this relationship well. So at that point in time, I felt like everything matured quite a bit, which was interesting. There was more drama before it all ended.
So when did you move to opening your second store? Because it took a long time. I remember talking to you, I'm like, dude, just open another store.
Yeah, we were.
And you were actually, I mean, you were really smart. You really grew that store to a spot where it was very successful before you even thought about moving out.
And I think that came from, we kind of knew what a single store could do from our time working at supplement superstores. And
listen, I won't even go there. Never mind. I won't even go there. I don't want to have to edit out this.
Tell me afterwards.
I mean, like, if you're not doing $12,000 a day, you're just not a successful retail store. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, it was. We were just one location for 5 years. We ended up. It took us a year from the time we started at about 4 years in trying to move forward with another location. And funny enough, that's when we had struggles finding a loan. Was not at the beginning when we didn't know how to do anything. They gave us $350,000 without batting an eye. When we're like, hey, we've shown that we can run a successful business, they're like, but not successful enough for a loan. And it's like, well, we need even less than last time.
Yeah.
Nah, it's still not good enough.
Yep.
But yeah, it was 5 years in when we finally opened up that second location. And a lot of it came from of man, we're still seeing growth with the first one. Like, why take on extra expenses if we can see more sales without having to pay more rent, pay a lot more in payroll, that sort of thing. And
how far away is the second store from the first?
About 45 minutes. We really tried to avoid cannibalism as much as possible with being nervous with opening up a second location naturally.
Now, how fast did that grow compared to the other one?
About twice as fast.
Okay. And now you have 3, right?
Yep.
So when was the third after that one? How many years after the second?
That was 2 years after the second one.
And how did that one grow compared to the others?
That one has already surpassed the second store, so even faster. It's grown more than our second store, actually.
So what is your, when everyone says retail is dead, what is, I mean, your stores are, if you guys have you never been to a Triad, they're phenomenal stores, but it's the same products that you can get anywhere else, but it's the experience, that his people give. He's got great people, and that's obviously what we talk about on here all the time. And so he's really developed a great culture and a great processes to groom and train people. And that's what really makes the difference. But what else is in your secret sauce? Is it all in the people? Is like, what have you done differently than your typical bro store? Like, I'm going to, let's throw some pro hormones and some pre-workouts up in here, and we're going to sell it to all the bros. Like, what do you do differently? Why are your stores different?
Well, I wouldn't say what you said is the secret sauce.
What, the people?
No. Like, pro hormones and pre-workouts is not the secret sauce.
Well, no, that's my whole point, right? Like, that's the bro down the street.
Yeah. That's a $300 a day success.
I would. We definitely tried to cater to all people. I think it's we've seen a lot of other stores, and I think it's just human nature to think of, okay, who's buying supplements, and I think everybody thinks the typical gym rat, which definitely is a big part of our clientele. We've got products to cater towards those people, but we also have products and staff, and even just the interior of our store is set up to also be able to take the mom that's going to Orange Theory that's just trying to get back in shape. Is we wanted to create a comfortable environment to be able to take those people in and actually get them help. And a big part of that as well is we work with those gyms a lot as well. There's a ton of great boot camps in Oklahoma City. We've got Orange Theory.
When you say you work with them, let's explain. This is your community outreach, right? Mm-hmm. Like, what are you doing? Are you giving them seminars? Are you giving, by the way, in this podcast, we usually give away a lot of free information to people. We find that a lot of people in the industry probably watch this more than people obviously outside of this industry. So we are always dropping nuggets and giving away some of the secret sauce here. So if you don't mind, I'm going to push into this. We can always edit it afterwards. But so what does that outreach look like? What makes that work?
anything they'll let us be a part of. We love to go out and just let people try things, just go out with the sample table, do a demo. We've gone as far as helping with meal plans. That is extremely beneficial. Being part of, especially if a boot camp puts on a challenge, which is pretty common in that industry, is just being involved with the nutrition aspect of that, because that's not necessarily, depending on the gym, not always their forte.
How are your people qualified to give them nutritional advice?
We have all of our staff NASM certified they're CNC certified, are certified nutrition coaches with NASM.
Now, is that something that you pay for as the owner when they come on? Because most people probably don't have that right off the rip. Or is that a requirement like, hey, you can only work here if you get this?
No, we pay for that.
You pay for that. Now, what happens if they leave 2 weeks later and then go off and personal train? Is that just like tough luck, or do you make them commit to like, oh, you got to be here for 6 months, or we're docking your ticket? All right, we're back. We just had we had a skirt come through and kick the cord.
He's tripped on his short little legs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He picked up his feet once in a while.
yeah.
Dude, you're only here like once a month, so like you gotta.
He's smoking a cigar, so he's all loopy. He's over here doing the skirt dance.
Can't do that in Mooresville Crutch Coliseum.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at him puff his
Oh.
chest out. You go, skirt. Yeah. Look at that guy. All right. So back at it. We were talking about the secret sauce and your people and how they were trained. And we were talking about they're certified nutrition coach through NASM, right? Mm-hmm. So they're certified. They get the PT as well, right? Or is it just the nutrition?
Just the nutrition.
Okay.
Especially since they beefed that, the NASM beefed that portion of the.
So you can get just the nutrition cert and not the whole PT.
Now you can.
Okay.
I don't know if you could before.
I don't think you could.
What does that
before.
cost?
I think it's like $700, $800. I believe.
What's the average? Can they work a shift without it? They can't serve clients without it.
They can. So, but pretty much not by themselves. Pretty much. So
There's like a manager or somebody else there. That
and you're not allowed to give obviously nutrition advice until you have that. There's quite a bit of like barriers. Like first and foremost, like so you asked before, what if they get their certification and then they leave 2 weeks later? Most people coming on don't know that we pay for that. Like most people assume like, oh, like I'd love to work here, but I don't have my CNC.
Yeah.
So one thing we do is before you work the floor, you have to pass your in-house test first, which in-house test sucks. It is a written test that takes anywhere from about 8 to 12 hours to take. You have to do it in one go too. So it's
8 to 12. That's intense.
I love
bro.
that. No
That's
bathroom
so awesome.
break, right?
What's that?
What
Do they
made
get
you
a
do
bathroom?
that? Did you do that from the start?
Yes, it's similar to how S2 or Supplement Superstores does things. There's a long test involved with that one as well. But there is a month of training and as well as studying, and then you take your test.
So wait, so somebody comes to you, I want to work for your store. You're like, okay, great. You do look at a resume, he seems like a good kid, and you're like, all right, here's the roadmap. So the roadmap is a month of training. Is it paid training?
Yes.
So it's paid training. So how many shifts is it? Like how many hours are they working in that month? Like
It could be anywhere from part-time to full, 20 hours to 40 hours.
20 hours or 40, and they're getting just like a base low hourly rate at that point.
Yeah, no
profit sharing, nothing.
No profit sharing, no commission, no nothing.
Okay. And then during that time, they're learning from the person on the floor, the manager, most likely.
Yes, and assistants sometimes too.
Yeah. So, and then at the end of a month, they have to take the exam.
Yes, if they're part time, we might go 5 weeks. If they're full time, we might go 3 weeks. So
Okay. And so tell me about the exam. What is that like? Is it multiple choice? Is it written answers? Is it what is it? Or is it like, hey, we have this, 47-year-old overweight male coming in who has low libido. What does they do? And then you have a pregnant woman who comes in. What do they do? Is it questions like that or?
no, that is, and hopefully they're okay with me sharing that. That's probably a better way to describe the test at Supplement Superstores.
Yeah.
But our test is our training in the store. That's what we're covering. The test is just supplements and ingredients. So there's a category section and an ingredient section. And this stems from, I put this test in place when I was working 80 hours in store. So I didn't have the time to be able to do a multiple choice test as much as I would love to do that and be able to give like a very finite grade to the test that everybody's taking. I literally just on my phone made a list of every possible supplement category and every possible supplement ingredient that I could think of and was just like, tell me about it. And then I'll grade it. and you have to, and so it's a written test. Again, it takes about 8 to 12 hours to take. So
How long does it take you to grade it?
I haven't graded one in a while. I can usually do one in about an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll score it. Basically, it's so that we are confident that they know about every ingredient, every category when someone comes into the store. And then training is obviously more of we're working with them on how to actually work when you get those types of questions. So once they pass that is when they can start working the floor. If they don't pass that, they can't work the floor. They can't take customers.
And so, talking about pay, you were saying they get a flat hourly rate. We won't go into the specifics here, but then once they pass that exam, then they're sharing in basically paycheck gross profit margin sharing.
Yeah, you get essentially half of what you would base pay would get when you pass that test, and then when you pass your CNC is when you make your full amount. So there's incentive. You get paid more.
So
once
you're
you
getting the
pass your
same when they're doing training. They're getting paid the same as when even after they pass the test, but before they get the CNC.
Sorry, say that again.
So they come on in their training. They're working the floor. They're getting paid an hourly rate, but then they pass the exam, but they don't have their CNC yet.
Right.
Is their pay still the same then at that point?
No, so imagine it's like if you make 1% of our profit sharing,
Yep.
that's like fully trained, certified, everything.
Yep.
So, but when you're in training, it's just the hourly rate.
Yep.
And then once you pass your in-house test, you make 0.5%.
Got it.
And then once
Got
you
it.
pass your CNC, you make a full percent.
Got it. Well, that's motivation for them to get that done. And then each of your stores, do they have a single manager and assistant manager, or like how many staff do you have? And are you running one person per shift, or do you have overlap, or how's that work?
We've got a manager at each location.
Yeah.
Sometimes locations will have only base employees. Sometimes locations will have multiple assistant managers. Everyone's available after 1 year of working to be promoted to what's called AT advancement training, because not everybody ends up going into management. But every store does have an overlap of at least 8 hours. Our longest standing store has 2 people from open to close.
So you must be doing good volume at that point in time if you're to justify that, because that's a lot of
And
Payroll's expensive.
so like that 1%, is it, and you're overlapping. So let's just take your quail. So you have 2 people from open to close. Is it just when that person is, so like in Lightspeed, for example, in our POS, like a certain person is logged in and then rings up. So like we can see like what their analytics are per their shift, right? So instead of is it per their shift, it's just gross for the 2 weeks.
Right. But and the whole idea there is that we want to create incentive for our people to actually help these people but not be pushy. Like there's incentive for for them to help their store do well. So the idea here is that we do a lot of sample events. Every employee does a 3 to 4 hour sample event every single week. So we do like 14 events every single week. So
in store or outside of
store.
And so that's part of that overlap.
Yeah. No, that's not part of
So that's in addition.
Right.
So how many demos a week? Did you say how many hours a demo a week?
3 to 4 for each employee.
3 to 4 for each employee per week outside of the store.
Right.
So in total, how much does a normal store have a week in outside demos? 12 to 15 hours or something.
Yeah,
like
that's
that?
yeah.
Yeah.
And so the idea there is that obviously when you're out at an event like that, you're not necessarily making sales. Like, yeah, you could be on the clock, but that person might not walk in until tomorrow.
But they're still eligible for their percent by
Right.
working that demo. Like that doesn't,
Right.
like taking them outside, helping the community, helping get more traffic into the store doesn't really hinder them earning that extra.
So
Right.
the reason why I have so many questions of this, and we've talked about it on this podcast, is that we've tried not every, but a lot of different payroll structures. We tried the Gold Star reward, where there's we set 3 different metrics on a daily basis where they could bonus on a daily basis, and then we said, screw this, we're just paying you salary. With based on total sales, you'll get bumps, but and really simplified it that way. So I find this really interesting. So if a guy works in a same pay period, if he works 10 hours or let's say 20 hours, and another just hourly employee works 30 hours, are they getting the same profit sharing, that same 1%?
No, that is actually worked into. It's a much longer formula than I'm explaining, but it's based off of if you work 40 hours, it's
a full 1%.
It's a full 1%.
So if you work 20 hours, then it would be scaled back
just
to
a half a percent. Yeah,
got it. So it's scaled on a full-time basis.
Right.
Got it. Understood. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Have you had with this? So you shared the hourly rate base at a start at an entry level. On an entry level, when you're getting new people, do you have people balk at that and really look at that number? Because one thing that we've realized is that sometimes people just see top line number, right? They're so focused on, I need to make, let's just say for terrible example, I'm 22 years old. I come out of school and school was telling me I need to make $100,000 out of the gate. Mm-hmm. And so when somebody comes in and you offer an entry level rate, they're like, no, right? Like they balk at that. They don't want anything to do with that. So have you had, so I guess my question is that have you through this process had people really hate the entry level number, or through the explanation of the earning potential with the structure that you have, does that then kind of calm them down and it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So my potential earn can be like this? Or
yeah, we've definitely had some good candidates not accept the job because they weren't able to make the pay work or didn't want to make the pay work. But that's a big part that we cover in interviews is honestly, we're trying to talk you out of wanting the job. Yep. Is, hey, we can't promise a lot of pay right now. We, even starting out, you're making a pretty base level, just hourly rate. But
it's no different than honestly waitressing. You get paid nothing, and then you get it on the service you provide.
Right. And you got to get through training. You got to actually be helping customers, helping the company. You're not really helping if you're just training. You're only taking time away from the existing employees. So once you get to the point where you're ready to work the floor, you make a piece of the pie. And if your store does better, you do a little bit better. And if you get promoted and you make manager or move to the back end, those are, I get to kind of point to some of those positions and say, yeah, these people are on salary. They, without sharing too much information, is you can make a good living here. Luckily, we're at the point where a company that can't even afford to do that, because before I was just promising people hey, if we grow, I'll pay you more. But right now, we got to grow. But
and that's the problem. It's kind of that chicken and the egg. It's just yeah, of course, when your store's successful, you'll be successful. But if you're going to come in here and keep the lights on, how does that help anybody? There's just, I think some people, and especially in this generation, just don't understand the nuts and bolts of running a business and the realities of a profit and loss statement. I mean, I know, we're in a little bit of a different position, and I don't ever regret anything we've done, because we wouldn't be in our current position in a lot of ways if we didn't grow our stores as fast as we did. But one of the things that obviously does happen is, we had 3 very profitable stores when it was Patrick running a store, Carl Frady running a store, and R.C. Williams running a store. That was our Arlington, Newport News, Virginia Beach, still our 3 best stores. No other stores really can touch those stores, just generally. But we had superstars in those stores, right? And so sometimes, in one year we opened 4 stores, and it's just unfortunately, you do dilute a little bit, right? You dilute the talent some. You got to be careful of not cannibalizing from your existing stores, but at the same time, for us, it's we need to be able to drive quickly between the stores to service our hubs and do our central buying and all that other thing. So there's a lot of other considerations there. But we find that was the problem, is just sometimes we've had to make decisions of I don't want to hire this guy, but I kind of need to hire this guy. And it's just at the same time, like I said, it's not a regrettable action, because our 13 stores have been instrumental in growing our brands to the position they are in today. And without them, that would have been a much harder road. So it's just it's a bit of a different road. But the more stores you have, it is a lot harder, especially for me. I can't put pretty much, you see how crazy it is here, right? There's no way I can put in that level of time there. And so it's just it's one of those, it's hard. And it seems like you have a great mindset around how to grow that staff and make sure it's the right staff. Whereas sometimes with 13 stores, if you lose 2 managers quickly, you have to make quick decisions to make sure you keep the lights on.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can't give them 30 hours of training on the floor. You can't run them through a test. It's just like, I need somebody here who we think is going to work out, but we don't always know.
Yeah.
Right. And so then it's a process of training them the best we can after the fact. And that's some of the stuff that we're trying to, get better on ourselves as we continue to grow. That's a really difficult thing. So I think a lot of people always think more is better. Mm-hmm. But sometimes there's a lot of, there can be a lot more problems with more.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think the slow, steady, just making sure they're trained up. And that's what a lot of the focus that Carl's going to be spending on in the next few months is literally kind of revamping some of the training aspects and things like that to make sure when we hire quickly, we can still get them up to speed, decently quick. But that's really good. That's good stuff. I mean, I think a lot of bros, you see it with the bro stores, and I'm not hating on the bro stores. I love a bro store. Like I love walking into a bro store.
Same.
And
I love a good owner operator store.
Yeah, 100%. But the problem is that sometimes that owner operator, dude, you're doing just fine. You're doing great. Just be happy with that store. Right? Like, doesn't mean you have to go open another one. There's nothing wrong with having one killer store.
I don't think they don't mind me saying this, and I don't even know if they watch it, but like example that comes to mind is Portland Nutrition Corner. Mm-hmm. Like, they crush 2 guys, owner operator, maybe 1 extra employee to help out, but they got 1 location, and it just absolutely crushes, and they're content.
They don't want to. They don't want to.
They don't want to go.
Nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
It's definitely a whole different ball game of setting systems in place, and appreciate all the compliments, but at the same time we're setting systems in place for 3 locations. I'm sure we will run into an uncountable amount of problems and issues trying to get to as many locations as you guys have. Because
so even like thinking about it, like my brain's going a mile a minute, like thinking about even the profit and loss calculations, like a lot of time because we have central buying. I don't know. Do you do central buying at once, like goes to one location or it ships to all the others?
We do a little bit of both.
Yeah. So like for us, it's all going to one spot, and we have staff and overhead that is basically on the overall company, right? So it's kind of somehow like even putting those costs over to, and that's to your point, saying that you pay them on gross margin, which is just purely how profitable are the products they're selling, not the expenses. But like our stores, a lot of our P&Ls are they're store specific, but again, we have a lot of overhead on our central system.
Yep.
That really, if you're going to look at the profitability of the overall store, they get distorted, they get inflated up. Honestly, yeah, right. Like they should be less profitable because it sits in one spot. If that makes sense. They're not sharing in that cost. They're not. Every store is not repaying the hub for $500 a month for services.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it just makes things a little bit difficult. So that's why I do look at individual stores, but a lot of times I have to look at overall numbers to see the trends and things. It just makes it difficult. So now when you're working in a store, you have going to defined here. So when it's defined, right? Not defined. Am I ruining that?
Or defined, no D at the end.
No D, yeah. Defined. Okay, so I thought I was messing up. Defined. So the brand, do they have certain requirements to sell the brand? So one of my things that I've always hated is the idea of, a product-specific spiff, right? Like that sometimes like a GNC used to work on. They don't do it anymore. But like if you sell this Muscle Tech Hydroxycut, you get $7. Mm-hmm. And then you got like little old ladies walking out with Hydroxycut, right? So there's these incentives that are just gross incentives, right? They're not good. And I never wanted to do that. So are there any specific things that you have to sell a certain amount of Define in your stores, or is there any targets that they're looking to hit? Or
nope,
it's all based on gross profit. So
100%. It's simplified in that version.
Well, it's great because then they're always pushing the right product.
Right. Well, if a Define product doesn't make sense for a certain person, don't recommend it.
Right. And at this point, does Triad buy from Define?
No, both.
We had that conversation in our workout today. I was like, you need to separate that. You need to separate that.
We'll be doing that before too long. We're finally starting to sell some Define products outside of Triad, which is really nice, and appreciate you guys in the Nutrition Corners picking us up. So, but yeah, we probably should do that before it's too late or becomes a huge headache.
Yeah, it's easier to do it now
for sure.
And it's going to be different. You're going to probably have to adjust your profit sharing calculations because they the way it's set up now, because if you're just running it together, they're going to make more gross profit selling a defined product than you will anything else.
True.
Right? We were saying, like, if it's a $100 product and it costs $25 to make, really defined should be selling it for $50 to Triad, which then sells it for $100. So their profit will just go from $75 to $50. Right. So you'll have to rethink that when you do that.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's an easy fix. But that's something that then you can really see the health of your brand too. Now that you're continuing to grow, and it is a great brand. I really like the formulas. I like your pre-workout. It's low stim, but still completely loaded, which is kind of rare these days. Like I formulated the Ascension, which was like my pre-workout, but I'll be honest with you, I probably usually take 3/4 scoop. So if I ever redo it, I'd probably scale back the stims, but keep the performance all the way up. Like just almost like a lower stim, because I'm in a sweet spot around 300, but a full scoop of that is 400. People are flying, but a lot of trends in the market these days are, you got to be 400 milligrams is the sweet spot, right? Like, and a lot of people are over that. If you're America Labs, you're slightly over that. It's just the way it works. And so, that's their pre-workout's great. So where's the brand going now? You started with how many SKUs when you first got your loan, and then where are you today? And like, what are your goals for this brand?
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting story there. Obviously, we launched the brand pretty much the same time the store opened, and we launched with, I think, 12 different SKUs. It was that includes different flavors, so maybe 6 different products and in 12 different SKUs, and we launched that and opened our doors and didn't have anybody come in to buy anything, so we had to grind it out and get people to even just recognize that we were there, get people in the door, and so we had to find products, and they did really well, but at the same time it was just allocating funds to just keep the doors open, keep everything paid, and we definitely scaled back our defined products down to, I think at one point it was only 3 different SKUs. And a lot of the money that was invested in Define, a lot of that money that came from that loan just went back to Triad just to kind of keep it running. We could have started the same business for a lot less money if we knew what we knew today. That's for sure.
Isn't that always the case?
Yeah.
But I don't think that's where you would be today without those learning.
So let's get into some more nitty gritty numbers. So in a store, how much inventory do you hold in a store?
In a store,
in a front side, retail side.
In a front side, I would say, depends on the store, but anywhere between 7. We start with about 60 at a brand new store, and it might grow to be about 100.
Yeah. And then you keep a decent amount, not including your brands. How much backstock do you keep, or do you not? Because we love how he orders. Every Sunday night we get an order. So you order literally on a weekly as needed basis, essentially.
Yeah, we keep inventory as light as possible, and that probably just comes from, again, our early years of just trying to keep cash flow, like as much cash in cash flow as possible. But yeah, it's we do with big companies like Core, we do order enough that we just send those straight to the stores. We're ordering every week, no matter what. But some of the smaller brands that we're ordering more infrequently and not that much, we'll get that sent to the warehouse, and that'll be back stock. So warehouse, I honestly am not sure how much is at the warehouse right now, but that definitely varies quite a bit because that does include the Define.
So when you send over these POs to, let's say, Core, are you on a that PO that gets generated, is that reviewed by your eyes, or is that all just based on reorder points automatically goes, or do you also then manually make that decision?
Manually. So it's my wife that does all the ordering.
Yeah.
She started just helping out on nights and weekends, and then we brought her on full time in 2019. So it's essentially rule of thumb is it just goes, especially with big companies like Core. But sometimes if we, if a single store doesn't quite need enough, we might tack that onto another store, or we might just skip a week. That happens with other brands more than it happens with Core.
So putting Core, Define, and First Form to the side, I'm assuming they're like your 3 largest brands, right?
For sure.
Like, what are the other hot brands that you see coming through the industry that you guys have gotten behind, and which are the ones that have surprised you? Or that blows your mind are hot brands.
We definitely separate, and this is something I have to explain to employees sometimes more than once, but we carry products that we recommend, and we carry products that are popular.
Yep.
And sometimes there's some blurred lines in between there.
Is there, I think it might be known within the industry, but like green, yellow, red.
Yeah.
Kind of operate on something like that.
Yeah, very similar.
No one knows what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
So green is recommended. Yellow is like recommended, okay, but not your first go. And then red is probably something that maybe gets somebody in the door, but it's something that we don't prefer to sell. So
usually
it's
not
that
a good
time
formula.
to make a recommendation towards the
like
green
that's
product.
TikTok.
Yeah,
That's a hot TikTok brand.
Gorilla Mine,
Yeah.
maybe, or like
Well, their costs are so high too. Of
Right.
course, that would
Yeah.
should be red.
something like that, right? Like that comes to mind, or like even C4, right? The one of the most popular pre-workouts to ever exist. You might want to carry it to get somebody to recognize and look at it when they're in the store, or even get them in the store. But then it's not the first product that you really want to recommend to somebody.
Right. It was C4 obviously was like a price race to the bottom. So you're just trying to compete with like Walmart and stuff having it,
Right.
and so we're selling it and not making any money on it.
We've done some silly things, man. I remember when we got behind. We were like, you know what? We're going to start doing loss leaders. We're going to buy C4 like a ton of units and sell it for like $12.
I think we got it from Mike.
I think we did too. And just like we've done some over the years. I mean, how long have we had stores? 15 years almost. Like
2010 was when you opened up.
Yeah, so like almost 14 years, and like we've done some silly stuff.
Do you guys not do loss leaders anymore?
No, not really. But
we do a lot
we do. I mean, I would consider Gorilla Mine a loss leader,
for sure.
but we're not giving it away. We
Yeah.
still make money selling it. But like honestly, like our cost on these energy drinks is $250.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, and yet these guys are here drinking it. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
great drink. But we have to sell that for $4. But the funny thing is, it sells all day long at $4 versus you can go buy a Ghost for $3, which is my favorite at the moment, right? Like, so it's just weird. But like, we won't just sell it at $3. Like, for the most part, I'm not in business to just give away stuff. But we will bring in brands that maybe I'm hesitant at first, but I understand the trends and I understand what people want.
Yeah.
So we got to give people what they want because we know where they're going to go.
If you don't have it, they're going to go somewhere
They're going to
else.
go online. Now, related to that, do you have an online website?
We do. We sell just merch, blender
Merch.
bottle shirts, that sort
Have
of
you
thing.
thought about making that a full service e-commerce?
Yes, that is actually on my list of something to do, but that is a project and a half. And
We're about to embark on it, so I know the angst. It's only taken us 14 years to actually consider going all
How long
in.
have we
on
had it? When did we open it? It was pretty good. It was
Within 5
okay.
years. It was about 5 years ago we opened it.
Yeah.
Well,
About
and
4
that was when it was Shopify linked to Lightspeed. Then we canned Shopify and just went Lightspeed e-commerce, which I highly don't recommend. So now we're going back because, there's a lot of tools that develop through time. It was clunky before with other third-party services that you had to link in to get inventory right. And, so now we're finally at a point where, and we have really talented people here from a creative perspective, from a programming perspective, where there's no reason why we don't. And we don't want to lose those customers, especially a lot of our stores are in DC area, which is very transient. We build a great relationship, and then 2 years later, they're gone. We want them to come back to us and not Amazon.
yeah,
You know, and it's just like we have to invest in it. It's
Let's see. I'm going on 10 years. So 8 years ago, when I was 2015, 2016, e-commerce was definitely growing, but it wasn't as hot as it is today, especially with like TikTok shops and other means to buy. So phone ordering became like when you build a relationship and somebody's transient and they move,
We do a lot of phone orders.
we could do a lot of phone orders, and we could still maintain that relationship through social media or through whatever messaging system.
I remember these guys would hoard their phone orders till like a big sales day, because like if like a Black Friday, just
Yeah,
because they
Black
wanted
Friday,
to,
dude.
because it gets real. We're on Slack and everyone's talking crap to each other, right? And so they're like, talking, like looking at the numbers go up through the day, and they'll hoard like a couple $1,000s in phone orders to ring up on that day just to, like the doors won't even open. They're like 4 minutes in and they have like $1,700 in sales. Like it's like, what are you doing? But that was fun. That was fun.
Well, and but that's what's made it harder, I think, is one, the superstars being tenured for long periods of time, maintaining those relationships for years. But But then like now it's easier for somebody to leave and then just go online somewhere.
You need a red light? You need
I
a
do.
red- You
Got me?
But like we have a lot of stores in military areas, so when people go, I remember when Virginia Beach like would get a boat that was about to leave for the Navy, and man, they would just the phone orders would the buys from military before they left.
Yeah.
would just
Yeah.
be
Military payday is always a big one. Like that's second Friday of the month or whatever it is. It's usually a big thing.
But how many more orders would you have if they could just go online and place those?
100%. Well, I mean, we don't know. And, there's so many tactics online these days. Like, the amount of stuff that I've learned over the last 5 years and just like with social media ads and retargeting and win back emails and, keeping people engaged and providing content and getting them, reason to go back to your site and all of these. There's all these tools that are available out there to kind of recapture these people. And if you don't have that e-commerce, it's much harder to do it. We've implemented a lot of things. We've implemented the little black book where people would have to write down something about, and we've gotten away from this. We probably should, our new breed, we should probably get back to this. Write down personal information about every one of your clients that comes in, and then hit them back, everyone, with a thank you note every time. And so like we'll go through waves where we'll be really good at that. And then, we'll get distracted by something else, and we will stop inspecting what we expect, and then it just falls off.
So, Kevin, can you provide light to that? Because I think that's a massive SOP that you guys have and have held. Like, right? Like, I'll walk into a store, and you got guys in the back just scribbling. I mean, they're required to do X amount of thank you notes, or
it's a thank you note for every 4 hours that you work, I think. So, like, if you're full time, you're writing at least 10 thank you notes a week. So, and the idea there is we don't want to overdo it, so that we're trying to get everybody a note maybe every 3 to 6 months. So that way, like, you come in, 5 or 6 times and you don't get a thank you card, but then all of a sudden you get one that shows up to your door, and because they're only writing 10 a week, it still takes a decent amount of time, is that they get to spend a little bit more time on each individual one and make it more personal.
So how do you track that portion? So like if somebody's, all right, new customer, that's probably an easy flag for a thank you note, but then they don't get one for the next 6-7 visits, and then boom, they get another one on their 8th visit.
We give kind of general guidelines so we'll keep notes on when they get a thank you
Where
card.
is the note within the POS?
Is attached to each customer in the POS, and we give general guidelines. First time in, they need a note. If it's there, and when we try and want to send one maybe 5 times or 3 months after that first visit, and then maybe every 6 months to a year after that. But because they're required in the first place of just 10 every week, then it's like, okay, now I know generally which people I'm kind of shooting for, and that seems to hit all of our customers about within that time frame are those guidelines that we hit are set.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
Dave, just shut the heck up over there. Dave is flying high as a kite over here. He is,
dude. He was puffing it.
He's like, he cheaped his thing down. He doesn't even know where he's at right now.
I'm gone, and then I'm trying to get skinnier so I can get out of this rain.
Oh, it's raining?
Just a little.
It's sprinkling.
It's sprinkling.
That is
I wanna
impressive how fast you smoked that cigar.
We've podcasted for a while. I do want to touch on like our relationship, Core, Triad. So I came on in sales in 2017. You guys started carrying Core essentially when you opened, right?
Yeah, we found out about Core when we were still at Supplement Superstores.
Yeah. So you tell the story of how you discovered Core.
Yeah, I think it was Andrew at the time.
It was Andrew Pardue. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He called Supplement Superstores and talked to Thomas, who was on shift, who is now one of our managers, and he's our HR department, our legal department, and he does a handful of other things.
I say he's
as well.
GM, but I don't
You
know
have
if
an
that's
HR department?
Kinda.
Man, do you have a paper shredder and a color copy?
We have a color copy. We got both. We just got both.
Because if you don't have a paper shredder, I know what your Christmas gift's going to be. We're going to put you in that real company category.
But he worked at a hospital for a while in somewhat of the HR department, so he knows how to make sure that we don't set ourselves up to get sued. So, but
smart.
We're still figuring that out. Speaking of, never mind.
Gosh, what was the question?
So Core. So Andrew
How
called
it started,
Supplement
how it started.
Superstore. Supplement Superstore likes you to go through their buyer,
Yes.
not to the individual stores.
So and so yeah, I think it was Andrew called just one of the stores. Like that's not really how you get a brand in. But Thomas was like, oh yeah, I got you. Send some samples out. So he used the samples himself. So him and I were roommates at the time, and I remember walking into our apartment, and there was just like a box of samples, and it was core nutritionals, and I had never heard of you guys, but I started looking at the formulas. And the funny thing is right at that time was we had the whole business model set up, and we were listing brands and products that we wanted to bring in, so we could kind of give like an idea on what our initial inventory was going to be, and we didn't know if we were going to be able to carry First Form. We had reached out to Allmax, and they had like turned us down for some reason. I guess I don't know what the deal was at the time, but it was like, are we going to have like any good products in the store? Like we're going to open and it's just going to be all everything. It's all yellow products. There's no green.
So basically, it was. The story is we were the only brand that
that was doing things right.
We were able to sell to you.
I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of really good ones even at the time, man. It was.
What you're saying is you were looking for somewhat of a complete line that could fill a lot of gaps.
Yes.
For the store.
And it was you guys were the only brand that honestly we liked you, we even liked you more than the Allmax products. And
of course.
Gee, thanks.
But yeah, it was, and that's where Define Nutrition kind of came from as well. Of like, well, if we're not going to have access to anything good, like maybe we should just make our own. But that's when those samples showed up on my counter in my apartment when I was living with Thomas, and I remember trying them and showing Chad and Vincent like, hey, like, have you guys ever heard of this brand? And they're like, no, but holy shit, look at these formulas. And that's when we reached out, and Chad was our purchaser at the time, and he ordered I think a case of every flavor of everything you make before we even opened.
Yeah. And then I took over 2017.
Mm-hmm. And there was the dip.
No, I'm just kidding. And yeah, I remember sleeping on your couch for the first sample triad.
Playing a little beer pong in the back for the.
It was actually
party.
ping pong. It was like me and Alyssa were partners playing ping pong.
Yeah,
it was the actual game.
So I said beer pong because I thought we were cooler than that, but it was just ping pong.
Yeah.
A bunch of nerds.
It was diet soda and ping pong.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about sample triad. So again, you do things differently than a lot of people, where they have a huge events and they just give everything away. Or have a 50% off blowout tent sale or whatever. You do sample triad, where your big thing is you're sampling products. So tell us a little bit about sample triad and what you guys do different.
Yeah, and that started when we first opened. It was kind of our grand opening, but it was several months after we first opened. So we're like, we'll call it something different. Let's call it sample triad. And it was like, we just need people in the door. We just want to let people try things. So that's where that kind of came from. And the first year we did it, we didn't have any vendors. Define Nutrition was there. That was cool. But
you got the CEO too. Wow, man.
Dude, I worked the booth that day. Yeah, it was. I think we saw $1,000 in sales that day. But it was more of just, hey, just come into the store, just find out that we exist, try some stuff, and that's the whole purpose of it. And it's grown into, now we have to have it outside. We get a big tent. Patrick highly recommended we do that. That's been a game changer for us.
Hey, we're stealing your light idea this year, because last year we had to hang out afterwards, but we didn't have any lights. So we're stealing your fancy party lights,
and it was catered, which was like, so now this year we want to provide food. So like,
we're cooking hot dogs and hamburgers.
That's the point of this, is to like learn from each other, right?
It's and I got doing the after party under the tent from you guys, because I went to the Nut Bash last year, and I was like, that was like my only thing. I was like, so just a little dark, but this is really cool.
I can't see who I'm talking to, but that person's over there. He's pretty cool.
But yeah, we had the idea of having the after party underneath the tent instead of going to like a patio or something and causing a ruckus, because like we usually like to give a speech and give awards and stuff at that point as well. So having our own space was definitely really cool. So, but yeah, now we do have as many vendors out as we can. We still don't do any deals, any discounts, because we don't do that on a normal day. So we also don't do that on Sample Triad. The main incentive is just come grab some free samples, and if you're wanting like shakers or shirts or free stuff, that's where the incentive to purchase comes from, and that's all provided from the vendors. Is, hey, if you buy a core product, like Patrick's has obviously done multiples of these sample triads is, you'll get a free exclusive core shirt if you buy X amount in core products. And so we leave it up to the vendors on what they're doing. And if they don't end up doing anything, then we probably won't sell a whole lot of that brand.
So let's just go back to that one thing you said, because it's important. You don't do discounts. So you're not Vitamin Shop, BOGO 50, anything like that. We generally, that's our approach too. We have done partnering with certain brands to be the focus of a month. And during that month, we will run something. Mm-hmm. We will do some type of promotion for that brand, to help get their products into more people's hands. Because let's be honest with you, right now, a lot of people are looking for a better deal.
Yeah.
So do you do any price matching? Like if you can get it cheaper elsewhere, does that ever become an issue? Or anything like that?
If someone comes in and says, hey, I can get this cheaper somewhere else, we'll double check what we're paying for it, but we will lower the price just permanently from that day on.
Okay.
Just to make sure that we're always as cheap as anywhere else.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
So, and then to share more light, and if you're okay with it, so no deals, just incentives from promotional material from the vendor. Mm-hmm. Your first sample triad, you did $1,000. Can you share what you did last year? In a day?
Oh, bro, don't do that to me. Don't do that.
I can share. I think we did 25,000
with no deals.
With no deals.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
That's awesome.
It's really awesome. I like to share that because they're proving that it's not deal, like it doesn't have to be deal incentive, right? Mm. It's experience incentive. Like at the end of the day, when conversations of retail is dead come up, we always fall back on it's not dead. People, as long as humans are on this earth, still want personal and intimate interaction, right? And they want to have a connection with somebody. Mm-hmm. And so it's up to us in the retail world to provide that experience and provide that that personal touch to it. At the end of the day, pricing's not going to matter once that's built, right? Especially if you've earned their trust and you're helping them along their journey. So I always we've pointed that out a little bit on your podcast when I was on, because I'm always super impressed of what you guys do with Sample Triad.
Appreciate that. We've really tried to make a move to make it more of a community event over the past couple of years as well. Inviting gyms out, inviting other fitness-oriented places that aren't necessarily supplement stores, our supplement brands.
Well, that's huge for your vendors too, because when your back goes out in the middle of a Sample Triad, and you need a physical therapist, there's one on staff.
Your back was messed.
It was bad. I could barely stand. Like I went to, I think his name's Josh. Is that correct? There's a physical therapist. Thomas comes over and he's like, "Man, you okay?" I'm like, "Dude, my back's out. Like I'm struggling standing up." He's like, "Come over here." And he talks to me over to maybe it's not Josh, but
maybe it's Blake.
Blake, that's it. And he helped me. He kind of released some pressure and then gave me some exercises, felt a little better. And then Sean Vasquez brings his new fit, like a stem cell machine. And he's like, it got me hooked up at the hangout at night. And I'm just sitting there in a chair, just buzzing. It was real bad. So October last year, it's about when I've that's been my recent flare up and I've been kind of struggling kind of on a roller coaster.
That is a rough day to have your back go out. That's for sure. You're standing a lot.
Praise God for Emily, because Emily, who now works for us, I think you knew that. Yeah, and she's been an ambassador to us for a long time in the OKC area, and if I didn't have her, we might not have done any sales.
Was it just you two that day?
It was just us two. Yeah, running Core America.
Nice. Yeah, and you guys come out with multiple booths.
Yeah, so this year, and then Arms Race was there with Julian and David, so that helped. This year, we're working on an exclusive product. We're not going to do too many drops just yet because we got some stuff working on. But we're going to do an exclusive product for 90 days after Sample Triad. So Triad will be the only one to have that. And so
this year, you get 5 brands.
Yeah, you can get 5.
Core America, Arms Race,
maybe
Unmatched.
This is where this is why Dave's on. So Dave's got to start working on Chris Gethin for the date. Yep. So maybe we get a little Chris Gethin action in there.
He's a little harder to wrangle in.
He might be in India somewhere.
India or the UK or wherever.
But if you tell him soon enough, he'll make time for it.
We'll
and if your PO is large enough,
Yeah. Listen, $50,000, Chris will be there. Okay.
and that's just 40 in product. The rest 10 is just cash.
Yeah.
Well, hey,
there's a service fee.
That's not far off from some of the offers.
Some of the asks.
Some of the asks that some brands do. So we won't do that to you. All right. Well, we appreciate you. You are by far one of our best customers, and we appreciate all you guys do to spread the good word of our brands. And, we'll do whatever we can to continue to spread the word of your brands and hopefully continue to grow this sucker.
Well, thank you guys for having me on. This has been fun.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for making good products. It makes it easy for us. All of our employees get excited every time you guys drop something. So it makes it easy. Makes it an easy brand to depend on in our stores.
Awesome. All right, guys. Till next time, keep crushing it.